Hi, this is Chris Freeberg, economist with Making Ends Meet. And the purpose of this video is to demonstrate the HWD application for real estate investors. And rather than beginning the video with the application itself, I'd like to begin here on the website and point out that the application is mentioned in at least two places on the website. One is here in the book reviews, book software reviews right here, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. What is this? September 2nd, 2015. And another place you can find it if you go to Help for Businesses and then down here to Real Estate Investors. There's also a link to it right there, right here at the top. But I'd like to put all this into context rather than just clicking around and looking at software. I'd like to put this in the context of the book that inspired it. And so if we come back over here to the real estate investor and we look at the notes, I have here 28 pages of single-spaced, typewritten, hyperlinked notes on this book. I mean, you can see I really dove into it. And if you look at here we are. You look at the bottom of the first page in the overview chapter. Keller talks a lot about Pareto, the 80-20, and the 20% of effort that yields 80% of results in general. And in the context of real estate investing, he says that the critical few activities for a real estate investor are CTN, okay? Criteria, terms, and network. Criteria means what kinds of investment properties are you looking for? Are you looking for single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, apartments? Are they big apartments? A lot of units, a few big apartments, small apartments, business, retail. What are you looking for? What are your criteria? And that is actually a lot of work because the market is constantly changing and you are constantly learning. So you don't just set your criteria once and leave them, and they're not static. Criteria are dynamic. And a wise real estate investor is constantly massaging his or her criteria as he or she learns and as the market conditions change. The second is terms, and by terms that means purchase terms. In other words, getting in with minimal cash and with favorable interest rates if you're working with borrowed money, and workable payment terms so that your cash flow stays positive. And then network means building your team, building what he calls your work network. Okay, and all of this really is about. It has very little to do with managing the properties, managing your actual investments that you bought. This is all about finding, about growing your portfolio and working mostly with not with the actual your actual investments, but with your possible or your prospective investments, your leads. Okay. So the How We Do That for real estate investors is designed to support this critical few, the CTN, that is really a wise and professional and effective real estate investor's job. And if you look at typical property management software, it doesn't deal with any of this. Typical conventional property management software, although it's really cool, it does a lot of neat things like collect rent and manage relationships with tenants and with contractors and owners and that sort of thing. It only deals with the properties that you have already invested in. It does not at all deal with the whole process of finding them in the first place. Okay, so that's the gap that the How We Did app for real estate investors fills. It deals with the criteria terms network thing. So let's have a look at the app itself. Okay, here it is. Here's the home page, and all of the applications I have been developing follow a plan your work your plan paradigm. I try to make it, regardless how elaborate they may be, I try to boil it all down to planning your work and then working your plan. In this app, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tables. Okay, so we have tables that manage files. That is like computer files, spreadsheets, and documents, PDFs, contracts, and stuff like that. Network. That's the N in CTN. This is your team, keeping track of them. Profiles. This is criteria, sort of. In here we define the kinds of properties that you're looking for, whether, like I said, they're single family, duplex, triplex, multifamily, retail, whatever. We set up profiles for the kinds of things that we're looking for. And then when we find when you're really your work network, you as a real estate investor do not bird dog properties yourself. What you do instead is you cultivate your work network. That's your job. And they become your eyes and ears, and they bird dog opportunities for you. And where do they keep track of their opportunities that they find? Here. This is where they do it. Okay? So they go out. You define the profiles you're looking for. They go out and they look for actual opportunities that match the profiles, and they record them in here in properties and leads. And when you create a property and lead record, here on the top row, one of the things you do when you record a new property, like an opportunity that you found, the date discovered and who discovered it, you specify which profile it fits, okay? And then you fill in all the details about that particular property. And this property and lead record is divided into sections. I'll collapse them. And this is the most elaborate record in the whole app, okay? There they all are. So we have a description of the property and which profile it fits, okay? We have any pertinent files. If you want to add, you can have photos, JPEGs, PDFs, spreadsheet, any kind of file that is about this, related to this particular property. You can store them here. Zoning, it matters a lot when you're evaluating an investment opportunity. So we have a section just about that. And of course, all the fields in this record can be grouped, filtered. We can build custom reports as you refine your criteria. We can build custom reports that work with every field in these records in order to get the best deals to drip out of the bottom of your funnel. So zoning is one thing that you may want to filter on. Lead info. These are people who are related to the property. Okay, they're not members of your work network. They're not parts of your team, but they may be the sellers or any or representatives, agents. Okay. Economics, just all the financial aspects of the deal, and notice we're working with price range here that we are considering, or that the seller would consider. We're not working with just a single price. We're working with ranges here. Okay, because that's part of the negotiation, right? If the price is too high, it won't cash flow. It won't, or the cap rate, cap rate will be inadequate. So that's why we work with range. features, right? Kind of like your own MLS. Amenities. These are all things you can filter on. Repairs needed. You want to factor that in when you're evaluating, whether it's worth it. Okay, and then once you have the property, this is for both for properties you're considering, and it's also for properties that you buy. And see here, if you buy it, then we check this own box here, and the date that you bought it. And if you hold it for a while and sell it later, we record that too. So for the properties that you buy, then you take care of them, and we have repairs needed. Okay, so you want to make a note when you're evaluating it what kinds of repairs it needs. And then if you decide to buy it and take care of it, then you prepare work orders. You plan your work, okay, or you do work orders, and then the tasks take a work order and say, okay, here's when we're going to do this work that's been requested, and who's going to do it. And then the activities are when the tasks are actually done. Okay, so all of that is all that information about properties is stored in these different sections in this properties and leads records. Okay, so coming back to the let's say I was showing you from left to right. So we got files, work network, your folks. Let's have a look at this. Okay, if we add a new member to our work network or our team, we have, this is divided into sections also, and everything's related to everything else. Okay, so you've got members of your work network who have been assigned to work on certain properties. You can look everybody up and see what properties and what tasks have been assigned to them and what they're working on. So we have the in the network member section, and this is according to the concepts in the book, whether you're inner, support, or service circle. And then within all that, we have all these roles, and you notice they're numbered 1, 2, and 3 according to what circle. Then their name and their phone. Okay. Contact info. We also have their email and their physical or mailing address. And then you can have you can develop your own profiles, or they can develop profiles for you. You can delegate that to them. So if any of these people develop profiles for you, this is where the profile that they developed would be added. Then this section lists the properties that they discover. And remember, your work network is your eyes and ears. So when they notice the need for like a cleaning or repair or something, we keep track of who submits what work orders. So those are here. And then once the work orders are submitted, then tasks are assigned. And there can be some cross pollination, you might say. One person could prepare notice a need and prepare a work order, and another member of your work network would actually do the work. So you might have you can imagine somebody in your inner circle would notice the need to get some work done, and somebody in your outer circle would actually do the work. So keep track both of who submits work, who originates work orders, who noticed the need, and also who's been asked to do the work. And then when they actually do the work, that whole work record accumulates here in their activities completed area. So it all comes together if we go, and then so that's your work network and the work orders. You can see how they appear elsewhere. They appear here in the work network member record. they relate also to tasks, and then the tasks, that's where you're planning your work, and then the activities are when you're actually working your plan. So all these tables come together in this kind of a flow. When you're planning your work, that takes us to the tasks table. It creates a new task. And when you create the new task, this is, like I say, you're planning your work. You select the property, and then work orders for that property. And then you describe the task here. And we have the ability to actually create Gantt charts for intensive project management. And that's why we have this preceding task field. If you're building a plan to do an intensive project like a restoration or even new construction, here's where you would build that plan. Then which member of your work network the task is assigned to, and timing, and the budget. And this is set up so that when we record activities, the amount of time, the amount of hours worked on these tasks automatically add up in these task records, because the task records are related to the activity records, as you'll see in a second. And then here's a history that automatically compiles for each task. When the task is being done, you can see when and who did it, and how much it cost, and all that. So that's what planning your work entails. It brings us to the task record, and the task record draws on your work network members, the property, which in turn has already been assigned to a profile. It pulls up the work order for that property. Then you describe the task itself, and then when the tasks are done, that's an activity. Well, this is then those two tie together, and as work is done, the activity sections of all these records automatically populate. So back to the home page. That was planning your work. Working your plan opens an activity record, and just think of this as a timesheet. And by the way, this is all mobile friendly. Your team can access and update all these records in the field from their smartphones or their tablets. So here in activity, then let's collapse the sections in the activity record. You can ignore the exercise thing. That's kind of a gimmick that I did. But we have the activity itself, the date, the team member, and they can keep track of their whole day in here. Okay, this is basically a timesheet, so they can keep track of their personal time too. If they want, I added that. It's kind of a general. It might seem invasive or nosy, but the whole idea is here, if you just get in the habit of tracking all your time, that actually makes it flexible. It creates flexibility, because you might play during the day and work at night. But if you're, or you might do what you thought was playing, like you might go out to lunch with friends, and then you wind up one thing leads to another, and you wind up discussing business and discover an investment opportunity accidentally. That can happen. So I think it's a good idea, without being nosy or invasive, but just to get in the habit of keeping track of all of your time. That's what I recommend. So that's why I have this work and personal distinction here. And then types of activities. But here's where the property ties in. Here's where the work network ties in. And then start, stop, and then the hours calculate. So if we go from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, that's 2 hours. Time at all to do this. It's just it's kind of like a quick scribble. Okay, so then we have the activities record broken down into lead gen and property management. Because remember, any member of your team could do either or both over the course of a day. So when we have property property management here, though, we'd have to first select the property, and then this field is dependent. The task field is dependent on the property field, so that whenever you pull up tasks, you don't have to look at the whole list of tasks for your whole business. You specify the property, and then only the tasks that have been created for that property appear. So this activity is basically saying, as far as property management is concerned, I spent so much time accomplishing this task, and also, here's where you would put in your if money was spent on labor and or materials, then the financial details, or the cost, is accounted for here. Okay, so that's the process. That's how that's what the records are and how they all work together. And then we can come over here to the home page, and we can create all kinds of reports. I just have one report right here. Here's a Gantt chart, and it's set up. It's just got a few things. You can see what a Gantt chart looks like, and we can configure the Gantt chart to sort, summarize. You can expand it, collapse it, set these time intervals of whatever granularity you want, from days to years. I have it set for months right now, and then months, and then quarters. But that's one great way to get a bird's eye view of all your work, all that you've got going on. But as far as opportunity funnels are concerned, we can build reports. I'll just give you an example. Like if I go to say the properties table, we can build reports that draw off all of these tables. So we'd mainly be focused on the properties, I think. And you'll notice here in the reports and charts area, you can open that up and create a new report. And QuickBase offers us all kinds of different reports and charts that we can use, that we can build off of the data. So a table is detailed transactions. A summary somehow summarizes them, and the ways of summarizing is super flexible, really amazing. Charts are visual. We get into charts. You come here, and I'll show you the different kinds. Here are types of charts. Okay, if we decide we want a chart, we can create all these different kinds. You got bar, line, pie, funnel, gauge, even correlations like scatter diagrams and bubble. In this database program, we have a lot more ways of looking at your data than just as lists. Okay, there's tremendous ways to visualize, and it's all live. Like if we run a bar chart, we're curious about a particular bar, we can click on the bar and it will dive down and show the supporting detail. So it's not just pictures, it's pictures backed up with data. All right, so we could take your home page here, which is fairly underdeveloped right now. I mean, I just have the data entry, plan your work, which takes us to the tasks table. Opens a task record, and work your plan, which opens an activity record. But we can build out this reports and graphs area in whatever way would be most helpful to your business, with tremendous amount of flexibility. But in this reports and graphs is where we would build the actual funnel. It could either be in a report form or a chart form that would apply filters and criteria to any of the fields in any of the records in any of these tables to help you define what a good deal is. And then of all the hundreds and hundreds of opportunities you have in here, we could just build a report that says, show me the properties that fit these criteria, and boom. That is how the good deals would drip out the bottom of your drip out the bottom of your deal funnel. So I hope that, let's see, this is 25 minutes into this video so far, and I hope that this overview gives you a better grasp of what these different tables are and how they work together, and the whole plan your work, work your plan flow. And just by looking at the simple beginnings of a Gantt chart, I hope you can see how the potential. For example, if in all the reports, all the detail reports in here, you can, for example, click on any column and group it A to Z, like that. And then once you have created groups, you can then expand or collapse them. Okay, and you can do that with any column. So if you want to see what work has been, who's doing what work, you could do it this way. You want to see what properties are, want to view it by property, this way. You want to view by team member, that way. You can also sort on anything just by clicking on the column. Okay, so the whole lot to point out that reports and charts in here are super flexible, which is such an advantage compared to a typical out of the box, canned application. You have a lot of say in how this works, and we can, like I say, we can custom design a home page just for your business and how you think about it, and create your set. Instead of, say you open QuickBooks, there's just tons of menu options and tons of reports, and they're always staring you in the face. Here on this home page, we can narrow down and talk about your 80-20. We can just narrow down those critical reports, critical few charts or reports that matter to you, and put them here and hide everything else. Okay, so it's highly customizable. So I hope this video helps. So if you would like, dive in, play with it. Feel free to experiment with creating your own new activities, new properties, new records, new profiles. Let's look at a profile. If I wanted to make a new profile, what would happen? Okay, see, we have these different types set up. Profile, neighborhood type. This is right out of the book. This is straight out of Keller's book. All right. Does this matter in terms of value, in terms of safety? To any like the safety of your work network, you want to evaluate, like, there can be some great investment opportunities in dangerous neighborhoods, right? Or maybe on the edge of one, and you want to take all that into consideration when you're looking at the price. So all of these, I have to give Gary Keller credit for all of this. I just took his directions out of his book, or I took his specifications out of his book, and I followed directions. So all these fields in the profile are his idea, and then so here's your where you specify what a profile is, and you give each profile your own name. So what do I have here? I just created one profile called residential established neighborhood, single family homes in an established neighborhood. And then once you start using the profiles in the properties, when you find properties, every property you've found that fits that profile is listed in this properties section. Okay, so that's how those two work together. So you can come here and say, gee, well, here's my profile, residential and established neighborhood. What have I got? You can just look at that. And and every property you found that fits that profile would be listed here in its own report, which can then be sorted or grouped or further tweaked at your pleasure. Okay, so I'm just kind of jumping around here, but I hope that this what is now a half-hour video helps you get a better sense of what this is and how helpful it can be in building your real estate investment business. And I'm firmly convinced that this one application would completely form the spine of your business. And if we look back over here to the notes and we come to, he's got in part 2 he talks about the 4 stages: think $1 million, buy $1 million in assets, own $1 million in equity, and receive $1 million in annual income. And then really after all that happens, staying on top here in part 3, let's click on part 3 in the notes. And he talks about accountability, and how I think, or maybe I'm confusing this with the other book, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Yeah, it's in Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I'm sorry. But he talks about getting that seventh level. But it's the same idea, when you've finally arrived, you've gone from thinking to buying to owning and to receiving. When you finally arrived, your job becomes just checking in with your team and keeping them accountable and understanding who's doing what and whether everything's working. Well, how are you going to do that? You're going to hold a bunch of meetings, have everybody send you their own report in typed up in a Word document with some related spreadsheets or something? I mean, how's that going to work? This is where all that can happen if you use it the way it's designed to be used. So I'm firmly convinced that this tool, the How We Did application for real estate investors, is the spine of your business that will be your one accountability mechanism when you get all the way to when you've gotten this far to receiving $1 million in annual income and you're truly running an organization. This is the foundation that organization will stand on. Okay, so thanks for watching, and go ahead and contact me. Come back here. Here's my contact info. This is my son and me on Easter. I'm at 224-4322, Chris at makingendsmeet.com. Alright, so thanks for watching.